The massive ship appeared on Earth's radar screens without warning. It drifted silently through space, its dark hull reflecting the distant sunlight as it moved closer to Earth's orbit. At first, everyone thought it was just another piece of space junk. That changed when they noticed it was slowing down. Captain James Miller stood at the command center of Space Station Alpha, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The mystery ship was 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. Its surface showed clear signs of damage, with holes and scorch marks visible even from far away. "Sir, the ship's trajectory has stabilized. It's now in a stable orbit around Earth," reported Bill, the young radar operator. His voice shook slightly as he delivered the news. Miller nodded, his mind already working through the possibilities. "Any signs of life or power signatures?" "None that we can detect, sir. It looks dead in the water, or, well, space," Bill answered, trying to lighten the mood with a small joke that nobody laughed at. The next 12 hours were chaos. The United Nations held emergency meetings. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. News channels showed nothing but the alien ship, with experts arguing about what it might mean for humanity. Finally, the decision came down. Earth would send a team to investigate. Captain Miller would lead the mission, along with a hand-picked crew of engineers and scientists. As their small ship approached the alien vessel, Miller felt his heart beating faster. Through the viewport, he could see just how massive it really was. The damage looked even worse up close. Huge sections of the hull were torn open, revealing dark spaces inside. "This doesn't look like battle damage," said Tom Parker, the team's lead engineer. He pointed at several spots on the hull. "See how clean these breaks are. This was done on purpose." Miller frowned. Parker was right. Someone had deliberately damaged the ship, but why? The team found a working airlock near what they guessed was the ship's middle section. As they floated inside in their spacesuits, their helmet lights revealed corridors tall enough for beings much larger than humans. The air was stale but breathable, according to their instruments. "Captain, you need to see this," called Dr. Roberts over the radio. She had drifted ahead into what looked like a control room. As Miller pushed himself through the doorway, he saw what had caught her attention. A hologram flickered in the center of the room, showing strange symbols that kept changing. Dr. Roberts was already working with her tablet, trying to make sense of it. "It's a message," she said after a few minutes. "The computer's translation matrix is still working. It's trying to convert their language into something we can understand." The team waited, watching as the alien symbols slowly transformed into English text. When the message finally became clear, Miller felt his blood run cold. "Here's our obsolete waste. Maybe you primitives can learn something." The message repeated itself over and over, leaving no doubt about its meaning. This wasn't a crash. This wasn't a friendly gesture. This was an insult, a deliberate act of disrespect. "They dumped their trash on us," Parker said, his voice filled with anger. "They think we're so beneath them that they can use our orbit as their junkyard." But as the team explored more of the ship, they realized this was no ordinary piece of junk. Despite the damage, they found technology that made Earth's most advanced equipment look like children's toys. The engine room contained a power core that could probably run all of North America for a year. The weapons systems, though partially dismantled, were beyond anything humans had ever dreamed of. "Look at this," Parker called out, his flashlight illuminating a complex series of circuits. "They didn't even try hard to break it. It's like they thought we'd never figure out how to fix it anyway." Miller watched as his team documented everything they found. The aliens, whoever they were, had made a serious mistake. They thought they were humiliating humanity by giving them their scraps. Instead, they had just handed Earth the keys to the stars. 3 days into the exploration, they found another message, this one hidden in the ship's database. It identified the aliens as the Dominion and included coordinates for their nearest outpost, about 6 months away at humanity's current fastest speed. "They're not even trying to hide from us," Miller realized. They're so sure of their superiority that they don't think we're a threat. Back on Earth, the world's leaders debated what to do with this information. Some wanted to try making peaceful contact. Others worried this was the first step toward an invasion. But everyone agreed on one thing. They needed to understand this technology as quickly as possible. Teams of scientists and engineers from around the world were assembled. They worked in shifts, studying every inch of the alien ship. They discovered that much of the damage was superficial, meant to look worse than it really was. The Dominion had deliberately left certain systems partially intact, as if leaving breadcrumbs for a child to follow. What they didn't expect was humanity's determination. Within weeks, Parker and his engineering team had already started understanding the basic principles behind the alien technology. Dr. Roberts made breakthrough after breakthrough in decoding their computer systems. "They really think we're stupid," Parker said one evening as he showed Miller his latest findings. "They damaged things in ways that actually made it easier for us to understand how they work. It's like they were following some kind of rulebook on how to give technology to primitive species without letting them advance too quickly." Miller looked out the viewport at Earth below. Somewhere out there, the Dominion probably thought they had put humanity in their place. They'd probably imagined Earth scientists staring at their gift in confusion, unable to grasp even its basic principles. They couldn't have been more wrong. Humanity had spent its entire history learning from its mistakes and building on its failures. Now the Dominion had given them the greatest learning opportunity of all time. As Miller wrote his daily report that night, he couldn't help but smile. The Dominion thought they were teaching humanity a lesson in humility. Instead, they were about to learn one themselves. Because humanity wasn't just studying their technology. They were already finding ways to improve it. The wreck they had been given wasn't just a ship anymore. It was the beginning of humanity's rise to the stars. And when the Dominion finally returned, because Miller was sure they would find out just how dangerous it is to underestimate humans. Little did they know that their act of arrogance would be the catalyst for their own downfall. The clock was ticking, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly what primitives could do. Tom Parker hadn't slept properly in weeks. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw alien circuits and power systems dancing in his mind. The engineering lab they had set up inside the alien ship had become his second home. Empty coffee cups littered his workstation, and his tablet was filled with thousands of notes and diagrams. "The power cord is the key to everything," he told Captain Miller during their morning briefing. "It's not just more advanced than ours. It works on completely different principles." Parker pulled up a hologram showing the core's inner workings. Even damaged, it hummed with more energy than a nuclear power plant. Miller nodded, trying to keep up with Parker's excited explanation. The engineer had changed over the past few weeks. The anger he'd first felt at the Dominion's insult had turned into fierce determination. Every new discovery was like a personal victory against their arrogant visitors. Dr. Anna Roberts worked nearby, surrounded by screens showing alien code. She had started talking to herself, muttering numbers and equations as she worked. "They left their entire technical database intact," she said, not looking up from her work. "They thought encrypting it would be enough to keep us out. They didn't expect us to crack their language so quickly." The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning. Parker had been studying a damaged section of the engine when something clicked in his mind. He called the entire team together, his hands shaking with excitement as he explained. "Look at how they route the power," he said, pointing to a complex diagram. "They're so advanced that they've gotten lazy. They'd waste energy because they have so much of it. But if we redesign the system this way," his fingers flew over the tablet, drawing new patterns, "we can make it 30% more efficient." Miller watched as the other engineers crowded around Parker's station, their eyes widening as they understood what he was showing them. They weren't just learning the alien technology. They were finding ways to improve it. Dr. Roberts made similar discoveries in the ship's computer systems. "Their code is like a bloated luxury car," she explained. "It's powerful, but it's carrying too much unnecessary weight. We can streamline it, make it faster." The world's governments poured resources into the project. New facilities were built around the alien ship. The best minds from every country worked together, sharing discoveries and building on each other's ideas. Old rivalries were forgotten in the face of this new challenge. They started small, testing their understanding by repairing the least damaged systems. Each success gave them more confidence. Within 3 months, they had restored power to entire sections of the ship. Within 4 months, they had begun building their own versions of some alien components. The first major test came when they tried to restart the ship's artificial gravity. Everyone held their breath as Parker initiated the sequence. The system hummed to life, and suddenly the floating tools and papers settled gently to the floor. The team cheered, not just because it worked, but because they had done it using half the power the original system required. Dr. Roberts made another crucial discovery in the ship's database. They have detailed records of their encounters with other species, she told Miller. Every time they find a new civilization, they do this same thing. Leave them a damaged ship as a gift. Then they wait to see how the species responds. And what usually happens? Miller asked, though he could guess the answer. Most species either worship the technology without understanding it, or they destroy themselves trying to use it too quickly. She smiled grimly. They don't expect the recipients to actually improve on their designs. The work continued day and night. Teams of engineers and scientists worked in shifts, each new group building on the discoveries of the last. They learned that the Dominion's weapons used principles similar to Earth's lasers, but on a much larger scale. The ship's hull was made of materials that could repair themselves if given enough energy. Parker's team found ways to miniaturize many of the alien systems, making them more practical for human use. Dr. Roberts discovered ways to make the computer systems more responsive by applying principles from Earth's own programming languages. 5 months after the ship's arrival, they were ready for the biggest test yet. They had rebuilt one of the ship's smaller engines using their improved designs. If it worked, it would prove they hadn't just learned the Dominion's technology. They had mastered it. The test was conducted in deep space, far from Earth. Miller watched from a safe distance as Parker initiated the startup sequence. The engine glowed, energy building up exactly as their calculations had predicted. When they fired it, the burst of power was so bright it looked like a new star had been born. "It works better than the original," Parker said, his voice filled with pride. "More power, less fuel, and we can build it with materials we have on Earth." He paused, looking at the data readings. "Captain, we're ready to start full production." Manufacturing facilities around the world began working around the clock. Using the improved designs, they started building Earth's first fleet of advanced starships. They were smaller than the Dominion's vessel but more efficient. Each one contained innovations that the aliens had never thought of. Dr. Roberts kept digging through the alien database, learning everything she could about the Dominion. According to their records, they usually return within 6 to 8 months to check on the species they've gifted, she told Miller. "They're going to expect to find us either worshiping their technology or fighting over it. Instead, they're going to find something very different." Miller looked out at Earth through the ship's viewport. Humanity had taken the Dominion's insult and turned it into opportunity. They had faced the challenge not with fear or blind worship, but with curiosity and innovation. In trying to show humanity its place, the Dominion had instead revealed their own greatest weakness, their arrogance. As the 6th month approached, Earth's first new ships were ready for launch. They weren't copies of the Dominion's technology. They were the next generation, improved by human ingenuity. Humanity had done in months what the Dominion probably thought would take centuries. "Do you think they'll be surprised?" Parker asked one evening, as they watched another successful engine test. Miller smiled. "I think surprised isn't a strong enough word." The Dominion had given humanity a wreck, expecting them to stay in their place. Instead, they had given humanity the stars, and when they returned, they would learn that some primitives are better left uninsulted. The Dominion ships appeared exactly where Dr. Roberts had predicted they would, just beyond Mars' orbit. Their arrival wasn't subtle. 12 massive warships, each one making their gift ship look small in comparison, dropped out of faster-than-light travel in a display of power meant to awe and frighten. Earth's long-range sensors detected them immediately. Within minutes, every major city on the planet was aware of their arrival. But instead of panic, there was a steady calm. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for 6 months. Captain Miller stood on the bridge of Earth's newest ship, the Phoenix. Though smaller than the Dominion vessels, it contained humanity's best improvements on the alien technology. Looking at the main screen, he could see 5 other Earth ships taking up defensive positions around their planet. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, the communication officer reported. They want everyone on Earth to hear their message. Miller nodded. Let's hear what they have to say. The voice that filled the bridge was deep and obviously artificial, a translation system similar to what they had found on the gift ship. Primitive species of Earth, we have returned to evaluate your progress. Your response to our generous gift will determine your place in the galactic order. Parker, who had insisted on being on the bridge for this moment, snorted. Generous gift. They really believe their own propaganda, don't they? The voice continued. Launch no vessels. Attempt no resistance. We will scan your world and determine if you deserve further consideration. The way they said the last word made it clear that consideration wasn't something anyone would want. Military bases around the world reported ready. Hidden beneath the ocean, in mountain bunkers, and in orbital stations, humanity's new weapons were prepared. But Miller had his orders. Wait for the full diplomatic exchange before taking any action. Earth's response came from the United World Council, broadcast on the same frequencies the Dominion had used. We receive your message, Dominion ships. We have been expecting your return. We would like to thank you for your gift. We found it most educational. There was a long pause from the Dominion fleet. They'd probably hadn't expected such a calm and unified response. When they spoke again, there was a hint of uncertainty in their artificial voice. Our scans detect powered vessels in orbit. You were instructed not to attempt spaceflight until properly evaluated. This violation will be noted. Dr. Roberts, who was monitoring the alien communications from her station, smiled. They're scanning us right now. Want to bet they're confused by what they're seeing. She was right. The next transmission from the Dominion came faster, with a clear note of alarm. You have modified our technology. This is forbidden. You will power down all vessels and facilities immediately. Your species requires correction. Miller gave the signal to power up the Phoenix's improved systems. All around Earth, hidden facilities began humming with energy. The trap was ready. We detected your scans, Earth replied. And we should thank you for those as well. Your scanning technology was quite well documented in the database you left us. We've made some improvements to it, just as we improved many of your other systems. The Dominion ships began moving into attack formation. Their next message dropped all pretense of diplomacy. You dare to alter superior technology. Your arrogance will be your doom. You have one Earth rotation to surrender and accept your proper place. After that, we will remove your ability to access space permanently. Parker laughed out loud. They still think they're talking to cavemen. Should we show them what their primitive students have learned? The next 24 hours were tense. The Dominion ships held their position, obviously expecting Earth to either surrender or launch a suicidal attack. They didn't realize that every minute they waited gave humanity more time to perfect their positions. Dr. Roberts worked with her team to monitor the alien fleet. They're using exactly the same technologies described in their database, she reported. They haven't improved anything in probably hundreds of years. Why would they? They think they're perfect already. As the deadline approached, the Dominion ships began powering up their weapons. Their final message was brief. Your time is up. Prepare for correction. The alien ships fired their first shots. Powerful energy beams meant to destroy Earth's orbital defenses. But the beams hit shields far stronger than the Dominion expected, shields based on their own technology, but improved by human innovation. "Return fire," Miller ordered. "Show them what we've learned." The Phoenix and its sister ships released their own weapons. The Dominion vessels didn't even try to dodge. They obviously expected their shields to easily absorb any attack from primitive weapons. They didn't expect those weapons to be modified versions of their own technology, optimized beyond anything they had thought possible. The first Dominion ship's shields collapsed under the assault. The alien vessel tried to retreat, but Earth's weapons were too quick. It exploded in a brilliant flash that lit up space like a new sun. Panic spread through the Dominion fleet. Their formation broke as they realized they were facing weapons they'd never expected humanity to possess, let alone improve upon. Their return fire was desperate and uncoordinated. "They're trying to call for reinforcements," Dr. Roberts reported, monitoring their communications, "but our jamming systems are working perfectly. They can't get a signal out." 3 more Dominion ships fell in quick succession. The aliens had never expected to fight a real battle. They were used to simply overwhelming primitive species with their advanced technology. But now they were facing an enemy using their own weapons against them, and using them better. The remaining Dominion ships attempted to retreat, but Earth's vessels were faster. Another improvement humanity had made to the alien designs. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the mighty Dominion fleet was reduced to floating debris. Only one alien ship remained, its engines damaged and weapons disabled. Earth's final message to them was clear. "You gave us a wreck, thinking we would worship it. Instead, we learned from it, improved it, and used it to defend ourselves. You can surrender now, or you can join your fleet in destruction. The choice is yours." The Dominion ship surrendered. As Earth vessels moved in to secure it, Miller looked at his crew, the engineers, scientists, and soldiers who had worked so hard to reach this moment. In 6 short months, humanity had gone from receiving a patronizing gift to defeating the very civilization that had tried to humiliate them. The captured Dominion ship would provide even more technology to study, more advancements to improve upon. But more importantly, it would carry a message back to its civilization. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They had given Earth a wreck, expecting submission. Instead, they had received annihilation. As Miller watched the cleanup operation begin, he wondered what other civilizations out there might have received similar gifts from the Dominion. Perhaps it was time for humanity to do some exploring of their own, not to conquer or humiliate, but to offer real help to those who needed it. The captured Dominion ship's database revealed everything. The aliens had been playing their cruel game for centuries, dropping damaged ships near developing civilizations across the galaxy. Some worlds destroyed themselves fighting over the technology. Others became devoted followers of the Dominion, trading their freedom for scraps of knowledge. None had ever done what humanity did, until now. Miller watched through the viewing window as engineering teams swarmed over the captured warship. Unlike their first gift, this vessel was intact and fully functional. Parker and his team were like kids in a candy store, discovering new systems and immediately thinking of ways to improve them. "Their faster-than-light drive is interesting," Parker said, not looking up from his tablet. "It's more advanced than the one from the wreck they gave us, but it's still not as efficient as our modified version. They really haven't improved their technology in centuries." Earth's victory had changed everything. News of the battle spread rapidly across the planet. Humanity had not just survived its first interstellar conflict, it had won decisively. The fear of alien invasion that had haunted human imagination for centuries dissolved overnight. Dr. Roberts spent days analyzing the captured ship's communication logs. "The Dominion has done this to at least 30 other civilizations in our sector of the galaxy alone," she reported during an emergency council meeting. "Some of these worlds are only a few light years from Earth, and I don't think they're the only ones playing this game. There are references to other advanced species doing similar things." The implications were clear. Humanity couldn't just sit back and celebrate their victory. They had to prepare for whatever came next. The Dominion would eventually realize their fleet was destroyed, and they would likely return in greater numbers. But this time, Earth would be ready. Production of new ships accelerated. The captured warship provided templates for even more advanced vessels. Every piece of technology was studied, improved, and put into production. Humanity took the Dominion's arrogant gift and turned it into the foundation of their own stellar empire, not one built on cruelty and domination, but on innovation and determination. 3 months after the battle, Earth launched its first deep space mission. The Phoenix, now upgraded with technology from the captured warship, led a fleet of 10 ships. Their mission was to contact some of the other civilizations the Dominion had gifted. Miller commanded the expedition, with Parker and Dr. Roberts insisting on coming along. Their first stop was a planet just 15 light-years from Earth. The civilization there had received their gift from the Dominion only 2 years earlier. When the Earth ships arrived, they found a world torn apart by war, different factions fighting over control of the alien technology. "This could have been us," Miller said quietly, watching the battles raging on the planet below. "If we hadn't worked together, if we had let greed and fear control us, we would have destroyed ourselves just like they wanted." Earth's fleet sent a message to all factions on the planet. They explained how they too had received a gift from the Dominion, how they had overcome it, and how they had defeated the aliens when they returned. More importantly, they offered real help, not broken scraps meant to create dependency, but genuine assistance and partnership. The fighting stopped within days. When the planet's leaders learned that Earth had not only mastered but improved upon the Dominion's technology, they were eager to work together. Earth's engineers and scientists began helping them understand and properly use the technology they had been fighting over. The fleet moved on to other worlds, finding similar situations everywhere they went. Some planets had already surrendered to the Dominion, accepting their role as servants in exchange for technological scraps. Others were still struggling to understand the gifts they had been given. Each time, Earth offered the same thing: partnership, knowledge, and a chance to stand together against the oppressors. Parker spent time on each world they visited, teaching their engineers the improvements humanity had developed. "Every civilization brings something new to the table," he told Miller after one such session. "The people on the last planet had ideas about the power systems that we never thought of. Working together, we're advancing faster than the Dominion ever did." Dr. Roberts coordinated the sharing of information between worlds. She created a database of improvements and innovations, allowing each civilization to build on the other's discoveries. The Dominion's plan to keep younger civilizations fighting amongst themselves was falling apart as their victims began working together. 6 months into the mission, they received news from Earth. The Dominion had finally realized something was wrong when none of their ships returned. They had sent a massive fleet, 50 ships this time, to investigate. But Earth wasn't the same planet they had tried to humble a year ago. The battle was over before it really began. Earth's improved weapons and defenses, combined with strategies developed from studying the captured ship, made short work of the Dominion fleet. This time, they didn't even manage to send a distress signal back to their homeworld. More ships were captured, providing even more technology to study and improve. Earth scientists discovered that the Dominion's technological development had stagnated centuries ago. They had become so convinced of their superiority that they stopped innovating, stopped improving, stopped growing. The alliance of gifted worlds grew stronger. Each civilization brought its own unique perspectives and ideas, leading to improvements the Dominion had never dreamed of. Ships became faster, weapons more efficient, shields stronger. But more importantly, knowledge was shared freely, helping every world advance together. 1 year after the first gift arrived in Earth's orbit, humanity had changed the galaxy. The Phoenix and its fleet had visited 28 of the 30 worlds the Dominion had tried to subjugate. Each world now had a choice: continue living under the Dominion's shadow, or join Earth and its allies in building something new. As Miller stood on the Phoenix's bridge, preparing to visit the last two worlds on their list, he thought about how far they had come. The Dominion had tried to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Instead, humanity had taught them a lesson about the danger of underestimating those they considered beneath them. The wreck they had been given as an insult had become the key to their liberation, and now they were using that key to free others from the same oppression. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the way, not through force or fear, but through cooperation and innovation. Parker looked up from his latest project, a complete redesign of the Dominion's faster-than-light drive. "You know what the funny thing is," he said. "If they had just come to us as equals, shared their technology freely, we could have helped them improve it centuries ago. Their own arrogance kept them from advancing." Word spread across the galaxy about the species that had not only resisted the Dominion but had defeated them. The story grew with each telling, how humanity had taken a broken ship meant to humiliate them and turned it into the foundation of their freedom. Other advanced civilizations that had played similar games with developing worlds began to worry. The balance of power was shifting. 2 years after receiving the Dominion's gift, Earth led an alliance of 40 worlds. Each planet had its own story of how they had been given broken technology and expected to either destroy themselves or submit. Now they worked together, sharing knowledge and resources. The alliance grew stronger every day. The Dominion's response to their losses was exactly what Dr. Roberts had predicted. "They're gathering every ship they have," she told Miller during a strategy meeting on the Phoenix. "Their entire civilization is based on being superior to everyone else. They can't accept that we've beaten them, so they're coming to prove their dominance once and for all." The final battle began on a quiet Tuesday morning. Over 200 Dominion warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was every vessel they could gather, their entire military might focused on crushing the upstart humans who had dared to challenge their power. But Earth wasn't alone anymore. As soon as the Dominion fleet appeared, ships from every allied world jumped into the system. The civilizations that had once been victims of the Dominion's cruel games now stood together, ready to end their oppressor's reign. Parker had spent months preparing for this moment. Every ship in the Alliance fleet carried his latest improvements to the Dominion's technology. "They think they're coming to restore their pride," he said, watching the enemy fleet approach. "They don't realize they're about to see just how far behind they've fallen." The Dominion's message was short and filled with rage. "You have corrupted the natural order. Your species and all who follow you will be erased. There can be no tolerance for primitives who do not know their place." Earth's response came not just from one world, but from 40. Each planet that had received a gift sent the same message. "We know our place. It's time you learned yours." The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. The Dominion expected to face primitive copies of their own technology. Instead, they found themselves fighting against weapons and defenses that had evolved far beyond their understanding. Every gift they had given, every piece of technology they had used to mock others, had been studied, improved, and turned against them. Miller commanded the Allied fleet from the Phoenix. The ship that had once been Earth's first defender now led an armada of vessels from across the galaxy. Each one represented a civilization that had refused to accept the Dominion's judgment of their worth. The Dominion's tactics were predictable. They had fought the same way for centuries, never needing to adapt or improve. The Allied fleet used strategies they had never seen before, attacking from directions they didn't expect, using weapons in ways they had never imagined. Dr. Roberts coordinated the fleet's movements using a communication system that merged ideas from a dozen different worlds. The Dominion couldn't jam their signals because they didn't even understand how they worked. Every attempt to disrupt the Alliance's coordination failed. The battle lasted 3 days. The Dominion fought with the desperate fury of a civilization, watching its fundamental beliefs crumble. But they were fighting against the combined innovation of 40 worlds, each bringing their own unique perspectives and ideas to the fight. When it was over, The mighty Dominion fleet was reduced to drifting wreckage. The few ships that survived surrendered, their crews unable to comprehend how primitives had defeated them so completely. The age of the Dominion was over. The victorious alliance didn't celebrate with parades or grand speeches. Instead, they began the work of healing the damage the Dominion had caused. Teams of scientists and engineers from every allied world traveled to the planets that had been kept isolated and afraid. They shared knowledge freely, helped repair the damage from civil wars over alien technology, and invited these worlds to join their growing community. The original gift ship that had started everything was turned into a museum. People from across the galaxy came to see the vessel that had been meant as an insult, but had instead sparked a revolution. Parker gave tours sometimes, showing visitors the improvements humanity had made to each system. The Dominion's biggest mistake, he would tell them, wasn't giving us their technology. It was believing that their way was the only way, that no one could improve on what they had built. They forgot that every civilization has something to contribute, that real progress comes from working together, not looking down on others. Dr. Roberts led the effort to preserve and share knowledge across the Alliance. She created a network of libraries and research centers where scientists from different worlds could work together. The pace of technological advancement accelerated as each civilization brought their unique insights to solving common problems. The captured Dominion ships revealed the locations of other worlds that had been given gifts. The Alliance reached out to each one, offering real help and partnership instead of broken scraps meant to create dependency. Most accepted eagerly, tired of living under the shadow of a civilization that saw them only as inferiors to be controlled. 3 years after the final battle, the Alliance had grown to include over 100 worlds. The Dominion's remnants were confined to their home system, their power broken, their belief in their superiority shattered. They had tried to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Instead, humanity had taught them about the power of cooperation and the danger of arrogance. Miller stood on the observation deck of the New Earth Space Academy, watching students from dozens of different worlds learning together. Among them were even a few young Dominion citizens who had rejected their society's beliefs and asked to join the Alliance. "It's funny," he said to Parker and Dr. Roberts as they watched the students work on improving an old Dominion engine design. "They thought giving us that wreck would keep us in our place. They never realized that humanity's place was out here among the stars, not because we're superior, but because we're willing to learn from everyone and work together." The wreck that had been meant to humiliate humanity had instead sparked a revolution that changed the galaxy. The Dominion had tried to teach humanity a lesson about knowing its place. Instead, they had learned a harder lesson, that true strength comes not from looking down on others, but from lifting each other up. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, other advanced civilizations that had played similar games began to reconsider their actions, because now they knew that every primitive species they tried to humiliate might become the architect of their downfall. Humanity had shown the galaxy a better way, and there was no going back to the old order.